Book 57 of 2019 was Tales of the City by Armistead Maupin. I think that's how you say his name. So this was another book club read. I did not love this book because I knew I wouldn't like this book, and I didn't like this book. Well, I didn't completely dislike it, but it wasn't something that I enjoyed reading. Mainly because I think I left it too late and I had to stress read it, where I forced myself to read it. But I think what made this a book that I didn't particularly like was it was because it's been serialised in, I think it's like in a San Franciscan newspaper. So like every kind of week maybe there was another kind of chapter. It was really disjointed and really hard to get into, and I think it was this one that I was reading where I was feeling like I didn't really, there's a lot of characters and I didn't really know who anybody was, and it took me a while to kind of figure out what was going on and what was the purpose of all these people and how were they going to actually meet and intersect. So I just couldn't get into it, and they're really tiny chapters as well. Like, I mean, let's just see how long they are. They're literally like 3 pages is a chapter, but it's like you read it and then it stops, and then you've got to like get back into another story or into another kind of set of characters. And so, I mean, maybe it was one every day, and then so within the week you found out what everyone was doing. But yeah, it just felt really difficult to get into, and I just was like pushing myself to get through it for book club. Obviously I never like don't finish a book, apart from the Lord of the Rings series. I didn't read the last one, but in time I probably will do, because like I'm Frank, I managed to finish that eventually. So I probably would have finished reading it, but yeah, I wasn't really enjoying it for that reason. Also, it's very non-eventful, there's not very much going on in it, and it was kind of like I wanted something to happen but there wasn't really anything going on. And then there's this massive climax like 3 pages before the end, and then it just flops completely, and you're like, what the heck has just happened? Like, did that just happen? Like, it's almost like there was a point in Lord of the Flies where one of the children like is brutally murdered, one of the kids, and you read it again and go, well, did that just happen? That's kind of like what happens in this, and you're like, did that just happen? Very, very strange. Like, it's almost like, I don't know, like as if maybe he was losing people reading it and decided to just put something random in, or like decided, okay, I'm going to make a book of my serializations and I'm going to need to put a cliffhanger in, so I'll put that one in, or I don't know. But it was just a bit like really kind of disappointing, really anticlimactic. And the thing is as well, at the end you think you're going to find something out. So there's a character in there who's like the owner of where they're all living. I can't even remember the name. And there's a secret attached to her, like she's been investigated by one of them. And I wanted to find out what it was, but you never find out what it is. And there's like her relationship with, I think, is it Monica? Is that what she's called? With one of, or is it Monica? I don't even remember what the, as soon as I finished reading that, I was like, right, let's just delete that from memory. Is it Mona? The one that begins with M, so that lives with Michael, maybe. There's some kind of relationship between them two, which, so I asked somebody and they told me what it was, and I was like, yeah, I knew there was something there. But you don't find that out in this book. You've got to read all the next one and all the rest of them. I think there's like absolutely loads of them. So if you love this book, that's great, because there's loads that you can read. But for me personally, I'm never going to touch another one of these again. It's kind of well, let's get to what it's actually about. After moaning about it all the time, it's about kind of like San Francisco, kind of Californian liberalism in the 70s, 60s, 70s, around that time. And basically it's quite liberal in the sense of sexual preference. Like, you know, whoever you want to go and do whatever way you can do, and no one can really bat an eyelid. And similarly, there's a lot of drugs around. Like, you know, there's what the landlady, they attach the joint to people's, you know, doors as they For me personally, I am not kind of attracted to drugs and sex, particularly in literature. Like, I don't need to, you know, I'm a very anti-drug person, so to read about drugs in a book is just really like, well, like whatever. Unless it's kind of like a psychology, you know, book, well, psychopharmacology book where it's like finding out about how magic mushrooms can help with depression, then I'm not really interested, to be honest. Like, recreational drugs is something that has never appealed to me and never will do, and I'm actually quite against it, because I think it messes with your brain chemistry. But anyway, that's going off on a rant. And similarly, kind of like sexual relations with people with kind of like no kind of strings attached, kind of, you know, that kind of hookup culture. I'm not into that either. I'm a bit old for that now. And so this book just wasn't kind of, I think maybe if you're a bit younger, then maybe that'll appeal to you if you quite like that kind of liberal style of life. It's interesting because none of the characters seem to have like a full-time job and have any responsibilities in life. They kind of, it's almost like they finish university and they just carried on the uni life, like kind of bumming around a bit. So that's kind of what is the content of the book. That's not to say that some of them, you know, some of them do actually work, but they work as like secretaries and, you know, stuff, which I guess in the 70s was probably all that was open to the female characters anyway. Which is interesting given that it's supposed to be a liberal, you know, place. It's not that liberal, is it? So yeah, like, I didn't really enjoy it, but I think the thing is, I know nothing about San Francisco and the 70s, and I would probably miss a lot of the cultural references and a lot of the kind of comparisons with then and now. Like, to me, then seemed like now kind of is. And so to me it's not that interesting, but I suppose if you are comparing it with what the rest of America was like at that time, it's like mind-blowing. So I suppose if you're coming at it from that lens, then it might be more interesting. But for me, it was just like a book about like sex and drugs and not really much. What I can say for the book is that it was very good in terms of characterisation, like, and I hadn't actually realised that until I went to book club and we discussed it, because there's a lot of people at book club that really liked it, so it's obviously just that, you know, I don't like anything. But the characterisation is good in the sense that you get a clear like distinction between each of the characters. You can understand who they are as people, and I can see them in my mind's eye, like, so that was obviously very, very well done and very good. But in terms of like what the place looked like and streets and stuff, I have no idea. Like, I couldn't picture what was described in that book. All I can picture is what they look like. So I think you'd have to kind of have some cultural, contextual references to be able to appreciate it. And I know I'm speaking to somebody at my old job. Sounds funny to say that, and she absolutely raved about it, and she knew a lot about the cultural references and things, and she enjoyed it for that reason. So I think it just depends from what lens you are viewing it from, as to whether you would enjoy it. But personally, I will not be reading any more of these books.